Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for our Gameweek 28 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, the video where we can look at some of the transfer trends and which ones we should be hopping on and off. Guys, if you enjoy this one, make sure you drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's have a look at the rules of the video. Okay, so buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking about removing, but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players who are potential traps that I think are hyped up maybe a little bit too much this game week. Guys, let's have a look at last week's results. So on the face of it, last week's results are kind of bad if you look at it on a one game week basis. But really, I look through these and I actually think, yeah, actually, it's not really that bad. I mean, the buys seem to score well. You know, a keep like Areola will score very well as well. But some of the players that I maybe got wrong, like Julian Alvarez and Darwin Nunez, they were players who were benched anyway and maybe got small returns off the bench. So really, I look through these and I think, although it doesn't look great, I actually think, yeah, probably works out pretty well overall. So yeah, pretty content with the results. I mean, you guys know I don't really think too much about one game week kind of results. I try to look at a slightly longer term view, but yeah, there you go. Those are the results for game week 27. Now let's talk about game week 28. So it's a double game week, so we need to talk about some double game week players, and those are going to be the players dominating the buy section for today, starting off with Neto. Yes, Neto with a double game week against Sheffield United and Luton Town is a really nice one. 2 home games for the Bournemouth goalkeeper, and Bournemouth are a team that are pretty good in defense, really. We look at their previous 5 game weeks, for example, you can see only 7.54 expected goals conceded are over this period, which is really not too bad. They're kind of looking like they're conceding maybe just over 1 goal per game. Certainly in the easier fixtures, that's going to drop a little bit down as well. So we look at Sheffield United, for example, which is a real nice fixture. And you think that Bournemouth could definitely keep a clean sheet here, just like they did against a fellow relegation candidate Burnley in game week 27. So Neto, really nice pickup if you are looking for a new goalkeeper this week, and is more than likely going to be the highest scoring goalkeeper in FPL this game week. After the blank game week, we've got Everton and Crystal Palace. So if you can afford to bench Neto for game week 29, or maybe you're free hitting in game week 29, then that's going to be no problem at all. And Neto could serve you pretty well even after the blank game week and international break after that as well. And for our defender, we've got a name that hasn't been spoken about too much this season, Zabani. Yes, Zabani is a 4.4 million Bournemouth defender who looks to be the most nailed on. And I'm sure people will be looking around the Bournemouth defense, looking for other potential Senesi alternatives with Senesi's injury. And Zabani really stands out to me the most because of that nailedness, not just for the short term, but for the long term as well, which you can't really get from any other Bournemouth defenders at the moment. Now, Bournemouth are a team who have some other defenders that you might be tempted by, but no one really offers any attacking threat. So if nobody's really offering attacking threat, you may as well just go for the most nailed on player who you can actually hold long term as well if you need to. Of course, Kirkez is another potential option here as well. However, Kirkez maybe is more of a short term pick because he might be displaced in the Bournemouth side within a few weeks, basically. The other defender you might think about going for is Doughty at Luton. I think he's definitely worth a shout as well, but Zabani is my pick for a buy. Very cheap, very nice. Double game week and nice fixtures after the blank. Let's go. Heung-min Son is going to be our midfield buy this game week. Aston Villa presents a very nice fixture for him. Really nice indeed, because it's the kind of fixture that does suit Son. And we already know that Aston Villa may be struggling a little bit more in defence more recently, with many players injured from their kind of defensive areas of their field. And Son is playing out of position as a striker during the time where Richarlison is going to be injured, which we think is going to be at least this game week. So Son, very much a nailed on Spurs attacker who is playing as a striker, listed as a midfielder, extra points for goals and getting clean sheet points as well, if Spurs can ever keep a clean sheet, of course. And we know that he is a career overperformer as well. So although the numbers on your screen look decent but not amazing, we know Son is always going to outperform those numbers and continue to get some really nice attacking returns on penalties as well. That's very nice. He has a fixture in game week 29, so those of you not using any chips in game week 29, you are going to feel very relieved to have a player like Son, who is your potential captain next game week as well. After that, the fixtures are still good. Luton Town at home in 30, West Ham in 31 as well. So a very decent pick. very much coming back into fashion, Heung-min Son. And for our forward, you probably thought I was going to put Solanke here, but I think we've spoken a little bit about Solanke already, so I'm going to put Morris in here for our buy, because I think particularly for those of you who are not free hitting in Game Week 29, Morris is the key to the city. He really, really is. With a double game week this week against Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, and then next week, a home game against Nottingham Forest, which is really, really nice. Now, unlike Solanke, Morris has actually been overperforming his numbers. He still has really strong numbers here, 2.73 expected goals and 0.57 expected assists over the past 5 game weeks. He is nailed on in that striker position with Adebayo being injured at the moment. He is on penalties, so there is just so much to love about him now, particularly that price tag, 5.1 million. You cannot go wrong at that price, and I think he is going to really reward anyone who goes for him over the next 2 game weeks. It could be a really, really nice differential that not too many people are actually going to have in their FPL team. He's a very popular transfer this week, but he's still going to be a differential by the time we hit the Game Week 28 deadline. So definitely a player worth checking out for those of you guys who are not looking to free hit in 29. Alisson is a straight up sell, unfortunately. We have received news about his injury that is perhaps a little bit worse than initially suspected. We thought originally he might be back for Game Week 30, but now it looks like he could be out all the way until sometime in April. We could see him out until Game Week 33, 34, something like that, which is going to be very, very problematic. Now, add to the fact that Liverpool don't even have a fixture in 29 and don't particularly have a good fixture in 28 either. Alisson is just a very, very easy sell. At 5.8 million, you just cannot have that amount of money invested in a goalkeeper who is going to be injured for, maybe at least a month, and also, no fixtures. It's just not good. It's just not good to have that money invested in a goalkeeper when there are some really nice alternative options available to us at the moment. And we're going to put Kyle Walker in a sell position as well. Liverpool versus Man City this week is going to present some opportunities to sell some players, I think, and particularly some expensive players where maybe we can free up a little bit of our budget. Kyle Walker away against Liverpool, that is really tough. And even after the blank game week in 29, the fixtures don't get any better for Man City defenders, really. Arsenal and Aston Villa, 2 teams that can score goals. I mean, Arsenal certainly can score goals at the moment, and Aston Villa, same situation. So 3 of the toughest attacks in the Premier League to face and a blank game week mean pretty much any Man City defender you have right now is probably going to be a sell. So Walker, Ake, whoever else you have right now, very easy sells this game week. Move them to a Bournemouth or a Luton Town defender. Another player, Hee-Chan, originally I thought, maybe there's some scope to keep Hee-Chan, but he has been ruled out injured until game week 33, 34 now. He's going to be out for quite some time, so you do want to look at replacing him ideally. I know he's pretty cheap, and I know many of you may be able to afford to bench him in the short term, but I would be thinking seriously about potentially moving him on if you feel like you need an additional midfielder in your squad right now. So yeah, Hee-Chan, long-term injury, it's just not a great FPL pick to have right now. Not a player to have in your team, really, and he's probably going to drop in price over the next few weeks as well. You could lose team value. Just get rid of him. And Alvarez, another player who seems to be maybe a mainstay in this sell section in these videos, but Alvarez still got a very high ownership. A lot of people own him, but he is another player falling further and further out of fashion, down to 6.5 million now. It's really, really lower than he has been this season. His numbers have just absolutely plummeted. They really, really have. He's now seen himself benched in back-to-back games in the Premier League for Man City as well, which is not exactly promising news for him. And the fixtures are pretty weak as well, and the blank in 29. So, yeah, Alvarez, if you've been holding on to Alvarez for this long, I mean, surely at this point we could admit it's time to sell. I know when I've had Alvarez in the sell section before, there's been a lot of pushback from Alvarez owners saying, nah, he is nailed on. Nah, it doesn't matter if he's not playing a striker. He's still going to be fine. But now we're seeing him drop out the team. Now you can very clearly see that his numbers have dropped significantly. Surely it's time to finally accept that Alvarez is a sell. Areola is worth keeping for one more game week for this home game against Burnley. Burnley struggling for goals a little bit at the moment. But I think really we just need to accept that West Ham are a weak defence. And please do not let that penalty save fool you. I know a few people are thinking about keeping Areola or buying Areola. Not sure I would buy him necessarily. But I think Areola is worth keeping for one more game week, maybe 2 if you're not free hitting in 29. But overall, West Ham have been pretty poor, pretty weak in defence and are conceding a whole bunch of chances this season. They really are kind of tracking almost as low as Newcastle really in the defensive numbers at the moment. So Areola, not really a goalkeeper we want to own long term. But for this Burnley game at home, I think it's worth giving him one more go. Just one more go. It's probably not worth a transfer if you are selling, you know, Areola for like a Neto or something this game week. Possibly not as worth it. Maybe there's some other areas of your pitch that you can maybe improve instead, because I don't think Areola is a must sell this game week unless you are looking for a longer term kind of option there. But yeah, next couple of game weeks, if you're not free hitting in 29, Areola is probably going to be a friend of yours, even though he's not going to save penalties every game week. Just be aware of that one, guys. Pedro Porro, I'm also going to put down as a keep. I know he's injured. I know he's been heavily sold, but for those of you guys looking to have players for game week 29, Pedro Porro is not such a bad option to have. You know, if you're not free hitting, you just want to make sure you have as many players as possible for game week 29. Pedro Porro, very, very nice FPL option. I mean, as far as things go for game week 29, you can't really do too much better in terms of defenders. It's a weak game week for defenders. Not going to lie to you guys. But yeah, I don't expect too much from him in this Aston Villa game. I think he is going to be fit. I think he is going to be available. It looks like he is going to be able to play in this Aston Villa game. So don't worry too much about injury status. But I'm not expecting him to get points this week. But certainly, I think for the Fulham game in 29, he is a player you're going to want to have. So overall, I think those of you guys not free hitting in 29, keep Pedro Porro. Keep Pascal Gross. A lot of people selling him after his blank in game week 27. It's been a long time coming for him to have a blank, really. He's been in pretty good form recently, but one benching often causes a lot of panics, and it means that Gross is one of the highest sold midfielders so far this game week. But honestly, I don't think he should be. He's played a lot of games this season. He was going to get a rest at some point, particularly with European football coming up for Brighton. Gross was not ever going to play 90 minutes every game the whole season, including cup matches. It's just too much for any player, particularly with the injury issues that Brighton have at the moment. So he will be coming back for this game against Nottingham Forest at home. I'm pretty confident about this one. I think he'll be straight back in the starting 11, and his numbers are good. His numbers are genuinely very, very nice. 1.84 expected goals and 1.6 expected assists over the past 5 game weeks. That's including a bench appearance as well. So yeah, a player on penalties as well for Brighton. I don't really see any reason to sell him this game week. Panic over as far as game week 27's benching was concerned. It was a 1 game week rest as far as I'm concerned. And Solanke, yeah, you guys are probably going to be surprised to see him in the keep section, because maybe you expected to see him in the buy section. But what about this, guys? Solanke, out of the kind of nailed on fit forwards, is the 3rd most sold this game week. Yes, seriously. He really is. Out of the forwards who are fit, available, and looking likely to start, Solanke is, you know, he's being sold. People are selling him. I think 50,000 people have sold him already. Absolutely insane. Do not sell Solanke. Do not worry about any potential injury issues. He played. He played in game week 27. So he's good to go. He's going to be fine. And he's got an amazing double game week. And you're probably going to look at captaining him as well. So for most of you, you don't need me to say this to you. Keep Solanke. But in case it wasn't already totally obvious, yeah, you really should be. Anyone who's selling him, you've lost your mind. You really have. Make sure you don't do it. Don't fall into that trap of selling Solanke. He is going to be probably the highest scoring player this game week, or at least that's what we would predict. Finally, some avoids. Kelleher is going to be our first avoid. Not because I don't think he's a great FPL pick. I think if you are on a wild card and can afford to bench him for 2 weeks, I think he might be worth picking up at 3.7 million. However, Man City at home, followed by blank, is just no good whatsoever. I mean, how many points are we realistically expecting for Kelleher over the next 2 game weeks? 1, maybe? It really is not going to be an ideal situation for anyone looking to play Kelleher this week. It really isn't over the next 2 weeks. So try and make sure you've got some cover. Kelleher is not going to be the one, unfortunately, for him. Yeah, there's also some rumours going around that he might have picked up an injury in training, but I will leave that in the rumour category for now. I don't think there's anything solid behind it, but just did want to make you guys aware that the rumours are circulating about a Kelleher injury. But yeah, nothing concrete yet. And even if he is injured, you know, we've got like 3 weeks until you'll next need Kelleher in like game week 30. So yeah, Kelleher, an avoid for now, but game week 30, 31, we'll definitely be talking about him again as a potential pickup. And Romero is going to be our other avoid. Similar situation to Porro. I'm not expecting anything from the Spurs defence this week. Aston Villa are a phenomenal team at home. They score a bunch of goals, and Spurs aren't exactly a great team defensively. I mean, they haven't kept any clean sheets in their last 5 game weeks, have they? Yeah, just haven't been a strong defence at all this season. And although every time Romero scores a goal in a game week, everyone rushes to buy him, he's just not a player who will consistently score goals. I mean, 2 shots in 5 game weeks doesn't exactly suggest to me that he is going to be a player scoring every game week. So although we might be looking at Spurs defenders to bring in game week 29, maybe this game week is not the time to go for him with that Aston Villa attack looking to punish anyone picking up Spurs defenders. Although, you know, if you have them already, you probably keep them, maybe even bench them for ready in preparation for 29. Right, as much as this really pains me to say, I think Foden is going to be an avoid this game week, and it's only because of the super specific circumstances surrounding Man City and their fixtures over the next few game weeks. That is literally the only reason, because Foden has been an insanely good FPL asset. His numbers are absolutely incredible. 36 shots, 36 shots over the past 5 game weeks. Absolutely crazy stuff. It really is. I would not go anywhere near him though if I didn't have him already. I know, crazy, but yeah, although I do expect Foden to do well against Liverpool, I think he has a potential to get an FPL return in this Liverpool game. I think there are other better options at the moment. I think the opportunity cost of going for Foden is, you know, that you're going to be sacrificing some other potential great midfielders or making transfers elsewhere in your team that are probably more worthwhile going for those double game week players, particularly in defence and in the forward position. Definitely I would be looking to prioritise my transfers there, because although Foden could do okay against Liverpool, after that we've got blank game week in 29, that's no good, and then the hardest fixture of the season for an attacker, which is an Arsenal fixture. These are not great. This is not a great run of 3 fixtures for Foden, even though I would ordinarily say, you know, back the attacker who is in good form. If you already have Foden, you 100% keep him, but I don't think you buy him. So he is one of those players who is 100% a keep, but also maybe like 75% an avoid at the same time. I'm not going to put him in the keep category. I think that's too obvious, but considering he is so popular for a transfer in this game week, I think he perhaps causes you more problems than he solves in the next run of 3 fixtures. But after that, you definitely look at bringing him in. You 100% look at bringing him in, but particularly for those of you guys not free hitting in game week 29, Foden is just going to add to your list of problems in game week 29. You're going to have to take hits to remove him. Is Foden worth bringing in now and then removing again for a hit next game week? Probably not, to be honest. So I would be looking very closely at keeping him, but also avoiding him if you don't have him already. Just doesn't seem worth it. But yeah, let me know what you think about that, guys. I think it just makes sense. I think it's just a sensible player to not pick up right now, depending on your situation, of course. And Darwin, fixture against Man City, that's a tough one, and a blank after that. Yeah, just not the time to bring in Darwin Nunez either. And I know, is this the case for a lot of these Man City and Liverpool players? It's just not the time to bring them in. What you have, you probably stick with, but you don't look to buy anyone in. And some of those defensive players, you're expecting goals in this game. Man City, Liverpool, always goals in this game. You probably sell the defensive players, and you don't sell the attacking players. If you have them, you keep them. If you don't have them, you don't buy them, kind of thing. That's the kind of situation, what I would say about Man City in totality. So yeah, there we go. Those are our buy, sell, keeps, and avoids. Let's round this video up and do a quick summary. So in summary, guys, I know a lot of your transfer decisions will be made on the basis of your chip strategy. Whether you are free hitting in 29 or not, whether you are wildcarding right now or not, that's going to have a huge impact on the kind of players you buy. So there's no one piece of advice that fits everyone, unfortunately. But one piece of advice I would maybe put forward is that the midfielders from both Bournemouth and Luton don't look that good. So if you're looking to pick up double game week players, I don't know if I'd be touching the midfield. I really don't. I think some of the single game week midfielders can outscore the double game week midfielders. So just wanted to put that one out there a little bit, guys. Yeah, just be aware. But in terms of those attackers, Solanke, Morris, love them. You know, some of those defenders, Doughty, Zabani, goalkeepers, Neto, looks pretty good for the double game week. But outside of that, yeah, not really sure I'm feeling it. So guys, let's go for it. Let's see what happens this double game week and see how we can prepare for game week 29 at the same time. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here as well. We've already uploaded 3 pieces of content, excluding this video, on the FPL Mate YouTube channel for game week 28. We spoke a lot about the double game week and injury news in last night's stream. We've also done a tier list and a wildcard video on the channel, so go check them out if you haven't done already. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Once again, we'll be back tomorrow for the 100 Experts video, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.